everybody to Tasty Tuesdays. I'm Lorraine Hughes, your host from Crafting Possibilities, and tonight I am very honoured to have Joyce Piper, who is the face yoga coach here in Adelaide in South Australia. Welcome, Joyce.
Thank you. It's so wonderful to be here, and hi, everyone.
Oh, it's such an honor. So let me introduce you fully. So after 20 years of working and floating between Australia, Saudi Arabia, the United Kingdom and Libya, Joyce finally realized she had hit rock bottom. Stressed, feeling unhealthy on all levels and seeing the effects all across her beautiful face. Joyce came across face yoga in 2011 and discovered how much constant daily care steps can really assist the body to positively influence transformation in all aspects of life. One of the things Joyce has discovered is that all women, and probably some men too, no matter where they are from, their culture, or regardless of their age, want to look and feel their best. She desires to help everyday women connect deeply within and allow their true beauty to be expressed outwardly by sharing holistic rituals to live agelessly and incorporate teaching face yoga, delving into the vital role of diet and how food affects our emotions, skincare with massage techniques, and the often overlooked area of mindset and beliefs. Joyce, the beautiful Joyce, is on a mission to support, motivate, and inspire women who wish to change how they feel about themselves and desire to live like an ageless goddess. Oh, I love it. More. So, my beautiful, beautiful Joyce, there is an awful lot more in your blurb that you sent me, but I was like, no, I don't want to say that all at the start. I would like to just have a little bit more of a deep dive into your journey. And, when you're in that blurb there, it was talking about when you hit rock bottom. And I would like to know, sort of what did that look like for you when you hit that rock bottom? What sort of things were coming up for you? How did you feel? Like you mentioned about your face, you were seeing it all across your face. What do you mean by that?
Well, I was in my 50s at the time, and I was in a very unhappy relationship, and I tried so hard to make it work, and I just couldn't. And it had such a negative impact on me, on my health, on my well-being. And of course, it started to show terribly on my skin. And I was aging rapidly, more rapidly than what I felt would be normally expected. But it was because of undue stress and tension, the kinds of things that were going around in my head, my thinking, and I needed to get out of a very negative environment.
Right. I can really understand and relate to that. Mm-hmm. I know, certainly for myself, in my 20s, I looked and felt a lot older than I do now 20 years later. Mm-hmm. It's so interesting. So interesting. So how did you begin on what I'm going to call your spiritual journey?
Well, my spiritual journey actually, when I think about it now in hindsight, started a long, long way back. As a child, I would say. I was someone that I would always stare up at the stars and the moon, and I just had this feeling that there was something more. I couldn't articulate it, and I tried to ask my mother, who kind of hushed me away, telling me not to be so silly. But now I realize I was just very aware that there was something more and that I was connected to that something more, but I just didn't have the language to articulate what I was feeling or what I had hoped she might respond to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when did that sort of more cognitive awareness start coming through that this is who I be and how I connect to the universe?
Well, I think as a young girl,
Mm.
I grew up where there had been deaths in the family. I lost my father as a child, then aunts as a young child as well. And I do believe that I had a visitation as a child. Um, I was sleeping in my bed one night and I felt someone come and uh, caress me and just kiss me on my forehead. And the next morning, I said to my mum, "Mum, did you come into the room and kiss me and tuck me in?" And she said, "No." And I just felt that I had been visited by an angel or a loved one who had passed over.
Wow. Wow. What a beautiful experience for you to,
It
have
was.
had.
And, all
Oh,
these years later, I'm 65 now, and I still remember it very clearly. And I also had dreams where I was upset about the death of a loved one. And then that loved one came to me in my dreams and just reassured me that everything's okay and that they're happy and they're well. And I woke up feeling so much lighter, like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders, knowing now that that person was happy.
oh my goodness. I love that your clear sentience audience, all the clairs were like already activated for you and with you at such a young age. It's like, that's
Mm.
so cool. There's a lot of, and even though it wasn't like actively encouraged in your family by your mom, I can see that you probably got enough tenacity in you to go, well, you might not think that I had that, but I did. I'll just tuck this away for a little while later.
Exactly. And then in my 30s, I was in a relationship that broke down. And I guess I started to ask some very deep questions of myself and started really looking inwards, trying to find answers, trying to piece together what it all meant and the why and all this kind of stuff. So from my 30s, I really delved deeply inwardly.
Right. Was there any particular modalities or anything you played with at that time, or is it just a lot of questions and
I did a lot of free writing where I just got myself into a particular state and then started writing and then allowed my hand just to write freely. And that was very, very interesting. I did that. That was quite significant for me. The other thing was staring into the mirror, staring deeply, looking into my eyes, and it was quite confrontational. But I don't even know if this is a modality, and I don't know how or why I came up with doing it at the time, but I would just allow my gaze to broaden, but stare deeply into my own eyes and allow whatever needed to come to me to come to me.
Yeah, soul gazing is the mirror work that is often called soul gazing, and it can be done either with a mirror or with another person. And either way, it has, because I've done both, can be very confrontational. Absolutely, it can make you feel jolly uncomfortable. And when we team things like, with the soul gaze with ourselves, with the mirror work, And we team it with something like saying, I love you, over and over and over again, and just saying that, oh boy, that can really just stir up some very interesting emotions, because especially if we've not heard that a lot in our lives. And seeing how the face changes every time you say, I love you, and you go from feeling like this is just the most stupidest thing I've ever done and said or whatever, to eventually, like, you break down through those layers, through those barriers, and then it's just like you become mush,
Yeah. And even looking and facing the parts of myself that perhaps I didn't like so much. It's confrontational, but, we have all aspects of ourselves that make us whole. So, it was important to look at everything.
Yeah. I think you would find the majority of people would not necessarily, and this counts for men too, would not necessarily look at their bodies in a loving way, especially when they're naked. Like, to look at every single part of your body from top to toe, fingertips, back, front, sideways, like it. I think you would really struggle to find, more than 10% of the population that would actually be able to honestly say, no, I love absolutely every single part of my body unconditionally, totally, with reckless abandon, and I strive to get there.
And I think there are times it's easier to do that, and sometimes it's very difficult. But interesting that you brought that up, because I've recently bought myself a brand new mirror, which is like long, so that I can see my whole body. And my intention for that was to look into it. And when I look into it, I'm only allowed to be loving to myself, because through access bars and doing the facelift, I came to learn that the energy that we give out when we're looking in the mirror is stored in those mirrors. So when we go to the store or, department store to try on clothes, every person that's been there, that's looked in that mirror, their energy is still in that mirror. So when I read that really kind of stuck in my mind, and I thought, I've got to buy a new mirror and be the only person that's looked in it and be very loving to myself.
I absolutely love this. And yes, I have a dress length mirror. And I tell you what, whenever I look in that mirror, I think only loving things. I don't know if I consciously thought about it, but that mirror always shows me, like, when I look in that mirror, I'm like, gosh, I look good today. Even when I'm wearing like the most daggiest clothes, it's like, gosh, I look good today. It's like, you're an awesome mirror. I like you. But equally, I have experienced that energy of the change room mirrors. I was in at Target. And Target, to those of you who don't think I'm being fancy, and I had to try on a couple of things. I'd been given a birthday voucher or something, and I just wanted to see if they would fit or not. And I tend to avoid change rooms, and even more so after this experience. But I walked in and I put my clothes down, and instantly I felt like I just wanted to cry. As soon as I shut that door, I just wanted to burst into tears, because I was just, the judgment was so thick and heavy in that room. And I was like, made my chest contract, and I just my throat contracted, and I was like just trying to put these clothes on, and nothing would work, and which made me feel even worse. And then I was just like going, oh, I've got to get the fuck out of here. I can't do this. And so I walked out, and I was just, I'm never going to go back into those rooms again. And it wasn't until afterwards that I'd kind of clicked, okay, was any of that energy mine? No, it wasn't even mine. It was just every single person who's been in those areas, their energy, their judgment, their whatevers of their body, their sadness, their hate, their regret, all of the distractors was imprinted throughout the floor and the walls and the mirrors and the ceilings and the hinges on the doors. And it was so thick. And I was just like, wow. And then at that moment, I just flooded it with love, because I was just like, and compassion, because it was just like, gosh, I hope those people find some love and compassion for themselves sometime.
Yes, it's so important. I mean, at the very least, compassion and love for this body that's so incredible, that repairs itself, and our heart beats, and our hair and nails grow, and our skin changes, so it's an amazing piece of biology. Oh, sorry. I've turned my phone off, but it was ringing through my PC. I apologize for that.
We didn't hear anything. You're fine.
Oh, okay.
No, it's, our bodies are fantastic things. And at the moment, we have a beautiful viewer over in the chat at the moment. You can see up on the right-hand side, just change the little tab over, you'll see her. So Tanya has had some incredible experiences with her body, and she's at the moment in a recovery process. And, she's really she loves all the holistic stuff. So she'll be itching for me to dive into this face yoga stuff. She'll be like,
Tanya.
Come on, Lorraine.
Actually, Lorraine, I follow Tanya. I have been following her on Facebook for a good couple of years now.
Yeah, there you go. She's been on my podcast a couple of times.
Right. Hi, Tanya.
Yeah. So Tanya's a very dear friend of mine, and she's been, as you know, she's had the coil placed into her spine to help reactivate her core muscles. So how amazing is that?
It
core
is.
Muscles which have been tired and retired for 20 years are now going to come out of retirement.
Amazing. The body is just incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I had, for myself, and I've been following this journey with my big toenail and fingernail that you saw. That was a slight argument with a lawnmower for my toenail. And just watching that, watching the process of the nail, falling off, and then coming loose, and then falling off, and then it's slowly growing out. And it's just like, wow, that's so amazing to watch that happen. And
it's like, how does it do that?
I don't know. Like our fingernails, we bump and crack them and bang them all the time. They grow really fast. So the toes, on the other hand, is like, wow, this is really fascinating to me. And it's a slow process. I think it's going to take another 6 months to get to a point where it's fully done. But yeah, because toenail, especially the big toenail, takes a long time.
It does.
So there we go. Yeah, Tanya goes, hi Joyce. Yeah, as Tanya said, her core muscles haven't worked for 20 years. So
unbelievable.
Yeah, so amazing. She's going to have 6-pack abs before you know it.
Wow, there'll be no stopping her.
There isn't already. So with your spiritual journey, and then you've gotten into things like this, the mirror work and all that, how did you come across face yoga? So it was back in 2011, I think it said.
Yeah. Well, I was working in Saudi Arabia in 2010. And then in 2011, while I was there, I got moved to a different office. And the lady who I was replacing had left a book on her bookshelf, which was about face yoga. And I have been like fascinated and passionate about skin since my early teens. I had bad skin growing up, and back in those days, there wasn't a lot of, well, there wasn't information. We didn't have the internet. There weren't a lot of skincare preparations that you could purchase at the chemist. And myself and my sister, we were using like methylated spirits on our pimples to try and dry them out. I mean, the worst thing in the world that you could ever do. But anyway, I found this book and I took it home and I started practicing what I saw in the book. And then I looked on YouTube and I found this Japanese woman who had these little YouTube tutorials. And I loved it so much that I joined one of her programs. And just doing the facial movements made sense to me because I've always been a person that exercises regularly, and I knew how good it was for my body. And it just made sense that why do we not exercise the muscles in our face as a way of keeping our faces, looking firm and toned, and just as an alternative way to facial rejuvenation, because I'm very health conscious. And for myself, I don't like the idea of Botox or fillers. I'm really careful about what skincare I use or anything that I put on my body, quite honestly. So this kind of made me feel that I could take back the power, in a sense. I could age on my own terms rather than being dictated by my physiology or allowing my body to age, as it were, without doing anything to help support it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I totally agree. And Tanya's on board with that too. So, I look at it like, for me, with my face and skin and stuff, like much like you, I've done bars and I used to teach bars and facelift, and I noticed that because I was using these tools a lot, where I was at with my skin and wrinkles, or rather the lack of wrinkles, the clarity of my skin was so much better than my mum's. And my mum's only 19 years older than me. So it's like, it's quite easy to find photos of her, roughly in my age that I am now. And there's some huge differences. And I look much, much younger than she does. She did at my age. And we could say, oh, well, she'd had, 4 kids by this stage and all those sorts of things. But I'm like, yeah, but there's a lovely phrase that somebody within the Access Consciousness circles talks about, is like, I was wearing the considerations all over my face, when they're talking about the wrinkles up on the forehead. And I'm just like, I don't have, like, my mum has very, very deep, deep lines through the frown lines. Whereas for me, I have the happy lines because I go like this and I get them up here. But much like yourself, when I was a teenager, whenever I frowned, I was like, no, it's no good for my complexion to frown.
Well, I agree. The considerations do show on the face, and I always tell my students the issues are in the tissues. So if you're repressing emotion, if there's something unconsciously that you're not aware of, but it could be a past trauma or even something that someone may have said to you as a child, and you perceived that to mean something negative, it's stored in our body somewhere and it has to manifest. So often it might be downturned corners of the lips, or lines. And of course, we are exercising our face every day. We're chewing, we're talking, we're smiling, but they're not conscious movements. We do funny things with our faces. We express with our eyes, and repetitive motion like that will cause lines.
Mm-hmm.
But happy lines are beautiful lines. I always say to women, don't worry about these lines around the eyes. It means you're happy, you're smiling.
Yeah.
But if you've got those deep grooves here in between, that's often because, we're burdened with something, or we're frustrated perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. Could you give us an example of maybe a couple of the moves from face yoga, just so that we
Sure.
can have an idea of what that means?
Well, look, there are 42 muscles on each side of the face, and they're tiny little muscles. There are lots of different exercises, but I'll show you just a few simple ones that anyone can do. So for the top of the brow here, just making your hands into fists and then
Mm-hmm.
totally relaxing your face and your eyes and just smoothing over the top of the brow with your knuckles, and use your imagination. Visualize that your hands are like two warm irons, and as you're passing them over the top of your brow, you're ironing out any little wrinkles there. And really relax and pull your eyebrows apart. Pull them apart, relaxing that muscle in between the brows here.
Yeah. Oh, that feels so good.
It's lovely, isn't it? It's so simple.
Yeah. And that just sort of like it goes right over the what I was doing it over the temples as well, which makes
Yeah,
my eyes go ding.
yeah.
Oh, that felt good. Thank you. Yep, Tanya said, yep, feels good. Oh, okay. Right, back to you. So thank you. Is there anything, maybe just one more that you might like to show us?
Oh, what could we do? Okay, so many women are concerned about their jawline slackening, or drooping of the jowls. So what's really important is posture, and especially for those of us who are heavier breasted, this skin from here, the chin, down the throat and across the décolleté, it's all connected. So if you're heavier breasted, you will have, I guess, more of a chance for this area here to go soft. So number one, posture is really important. We want to open up the chest, really open it up. We don't want to be rounded over like this.
Mm-hmm.
When we're rounded like this, we can't breathe fully. And if we're not breathing fully, then we're not oxygenating the skin and sending vital nutrients to the skin. So our skin is our largest organ, but it's a non-vital organ compared to the heart, the lungs, the kidneys, and the liver. So the skin gets whatever nutrients are left over after all the major organs have taken their nutritional requirements. So breath work is really important, and posture, keeping the shoulders down and relaxed, breathing fully. But one exercise that you can do for this area, very simply, and you can do it anywhere, even driving in the car, just parting the lips softly, and then with your tongue, pull your tongue back into your mouth and try and put the tip of your tongue up to the top of the roof of the mouth and lift it up and down. And you should feel this under here moving. So pull the tongue back and then try and get the tip of your tongue to the roof of your mouth.
Oh, that's fun.
So that's a really simple exercise just to firm up under this area here.
I like it. I like doing things in the car because I drive a lot these days.
Yeah.
Having things that I can do in the car is great. I've learned a way of tapping that doesn't mean I have to do this and this and this and this. I can actually do it on my fingers. It is just it's game changer, absolute game changer. Because there's the meridian lines that run down your fingers, of course, and tapping is actually on your meridians.
Right, beautiful.
So instead of being at the start of the meridians, it's at the end of the meridians.
Oh, and our fingertips are so powerful, aren't they? I know as a therapist, because I'm massaging faces all the time, and my fingertips I use as my eyes in a sense. I'll shut my eyes when I'm doing a treatment to be more intuitive about what I'm doing, so that I allow my fingers to feel what's going on, as well as looking to see, but I like to feel the underlying tissue and the muscle.
Especially with, like you said, there's 42 on each side, is that right? 42 each. That's a lot of muscles.
It is. And they're all interconnected. And what I'd really like to impress on your listeners is that we shouldn't think of our face as separate to our body. Everything is interconnected. So you would have, when you hurt your toe, you would have been in a lot of pain, and that would have gone through your body. You would have expressed it by facial expressions on the face. And whether or not you were consciously aware of it, as a result of that, you may have had a tight scalp or started clenching your jaw while you were sleeping because your foot was in pain. And
that's a really good point.
Yeah. And often we go around with these really tight scalps and tight jaws, and that becomes our normal. But it really isn't normal. We can, I love to focus on people's jaw area to allow a lot of spaciousness in that area. And then that really relaxes the central nervous system.
I 100% agree, and I can't wait to try out your treatments. I really can't. There was one time I had a taster TMJ massage done. So that's where they go.
The intraoral?
Intraoral, yeah. And it was just so good. And what happened after that was my teeth suddenly weren't together anymore. It was like my upper and lower jaw had a bit of a gap there. And for such a long time, I've not had that. Like you said, it was my normal was to have my teeth together. And even the dentist was really surprised because I don't grind my teeth, but I clench my jaw. And especially when I'm very stressed and I have a lot going on. And I'll clench my jaw and I'll suck the inside of my lower mouth lip area. I don't know what that name is for this piece here. I'll actually almost suck it up in between my teeth. So I
Right.
end up with like a ridge on
Oh,
the
you get
inside
like
of my gum.
indentation.
Mm.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay.
Mm.
Just rub that out. Obviously, I'm a bit stressed right now, but it's not
So
until
can I share something with you for that?
yeah.
If you, we do hold a lot of stress around the mouth. It's like a ring muscle. So you can do this, grab your lips and just massage them, pulling them slightly. And especially this little muscle here,
Mm-hmm.
try and grab that, wiggle it. It's quite a hard little muscle just here, but get in there with your thumb and your fingertips. Hey, it looks funny, but it feels really good.
It does feel good. I just caught a look of my lips going. No, that's awesome. Thank you. I'll definitely use that some more. Yeah, wow. Especially on those days when I'm feeling a little bit grumpy, I think that's a good time to do that.
Well, something you can do when you're feeling grumpy, just grabbing your hands and squeezing the top of your shoulders and around the back of your neck. Just squeeze and squeeze, releasing tension.
Yeah.
A lot of wrinkles that we get on our face is also caused because of tension in the neck and the shoulders. So relaxation is such an underrated thing. The more we can let go and release tension, the happier we can be and the healthier we can be.
Yes, I absolutely agree. I know for sure that in the times when I have not placed a lot of value on relaxation and downtime, that sickness and illness has popped into my world in a very big way. When I started placing more value on like my energetic healing journey and relaxation and making sure that I dedicate X amount of time each week or every couple of weeks to do some sort of healing or energetic work or something for me, suddenly my sicknesses like coughs and colds and flus, they kind of disappeared out the window. And by the time, let me think, in the last 7 years, I've not had one single cough, cold or a flu.
Brilliant.
And my headaches have like disappeared. They disappeared pretty quickly after learning how to do bars. But again, that was, and by bars I mean access bars for those people who don't know, which is a body process which uses 32 points on the head, and it releases a lot of those considerations that we were just talking about earlier. So yes, it's a brilliant tool, and I'm so glad that you as a beautiful face yoga coach knows how to do that. And also the energetic facelift is a real game changer, because it's not just something you can use on your face, like you can use it throughout your entire body, and the healing that it does is so amazing.
And it's so wonderful just for opening the mind, allowing inspiration, sleeping better, and just having an overall sense of well-being, and not really being able to pinpoint where that has come from. But I put it down to the treatment.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I know how valuable it's been in my life, not just from an aesthetic space, but also from a mind, body, health, wellness space as well. Knowing that I am beautiful and lovable and worthy of having all of that and so much more in my life. And
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's like when we do place more importance on those key areas like you were talking about of self-care and being mindful of what we put out into our bodies and how we treat our bodies with both thoughts and feelings and physical actions, so important. So I'm really glad that people get to enjoy being with you and experiencing this and being mentored and coached by you through those tools and techniques.
Well, it's so interesting because in my workshops, when I set up the room, there's a mirror for each participant to use. And so often, and it's generally women, the first thing they do when they see there's a mirror is they either put it down or they don't want to look into it. And that makes me so sad. Because it's an indication of the kind of thought pattern that they have about themselves. And I really want to influence the change there, because to me, what we say to ourselves and how we think about ourselves is one of the number one considerations, because your body will believe whatever you tell it. And if you keep saying, oh, I'm getting old, or words like, this is killing me. My mother used to be a big one. Oh, this is killing me. And I'd say, Mum, stop. Don't say that. And it's just becoming aware of those repetitive scripts that not only we say out loud, but the thoughts that are going through in our mind.
Yes, I completely agree. When I became aware of that and how powerful our words were, I used to say things like, I really just need a break. And then I would find things would be breaking around me a lot.
Right. How interesting.
And then I realized that I actually, if I just change that and say I require some rest, then that would happen. So like this week I have been doing a lot over the last few weeks. Actually, I've been doing a lot of work, a lot of physical work, and my body is very much asking for some rest time. And the universe looked out for me today, shortened my middle shift by an hour and a half, and gave me space. Beautiful. So I went and got myself some lunch, and I went and sat in my car next to a park and had a snooze.
Lovely.
See, I asked for a rest.
Yeah.
And not a break.
Right. Yes, and that's the same. I hear women often, and I'm guilty myself in the past, of saying, I want to lose weight. And what do we do when we lose something? We want to go and find it. So we don't want to lose weight. We want to release it, let it go. We don't need it any longer. We're safe without it. So it's changing the language that we use to better serve ourselves.
Absolutely. You're speaking my language, lady. You really are. And it's even things like when we learn how the word need and want, they both mean to lack. So one of the sort of turning points in my verbiage was when I realized that I have to get rid of those words need and want from my when I'm asking for things, because what I'm essentially saying to the universe is I desire to have lack of whatever it is. So say I'm going, I need more money. The message I'm actually sending to the universe is I'm asking for less money. It's like, not more money, less money. And it's like, oh dear. let's change that. So we change it up for desire and require, and then suddenly, what do you know, it's taken some time, but my financial flows have changed and all those sorts of things. And it's interesting how just a simple word change can make such a huge difference internally, externally, with everything around you. And that was something that you mentioned in your blurb as well, is how taking care of this, how that can influence everything else in your world.
Well, it does, because the better we take care of ourselves, the better the outside world responds to us. I guess it's like we start to show the universe that we really do value ourselves and we're worthy. So how? I'm not sure, but people will start treating you better.
Yeah.
And it's, I guess, because you start to treat yourself better. It's all a reflection. The universe just reflects back to you what you put out. And I had a very hard time with that concept some years ago. And I can't believe I'm even going to tell you this because it's something very private. But someone broke into my home some years ago, and I was attacked. And I ended up going to see a spiritual healer or counselor. I'm not quite sure what her title was, but she said to me that I had attracted that situation into my life. And oh my God, it really upset me, really, really, because I just kind of felt, how could I have attracted that into my life? You know, what was I doing or thinking at that time that this experience had happened to me? But I guess now, when I think back on it, there must have been something. I must have had some feelings of unworthiness. But I feel very lucky that, I wasn't injured, I wasn't killed or anything like that.
Yeah. I'm grateful you weren't injured or killed either. The what was coming up for me when you were telling me that was the words boundary violation. And I'd be, obviously not right now, but maybe have a little reflect and see, where were you violating your own boundaries at that time? Because the boundary of your home, they've violated that boundary of your home. And if that is where we're the reflection of, it's like, okay.
No, that's a very good point there. I think I was very unclear at the time of where I was going in my life, and possibly not putting boundaries in place where they should have been. So you're right.
That's the trouble when you're dealing with an intuitive healer. We tap into these things, and it's just kind of like the words just plop in, and it's just like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, with your spiritual awareness that you have, and I just love that you have that, do you find sometimes that people, for their faces particularly, will mimic a spirit of a deceased loved one if they're missing them a lot?
Oh gosh, that's an amazing question, which I cannot answer, because I would need to know the person, and I would need to know that there was a loved one that had passed over. Each client does have to fill in a pre-client consultation form, but I've never asked anything like that. Yes, that's very interesting.
The reason why it popped up is because I was doing a session with a beautiful lady one day, and she was just lying on the table, and I was at her feet at this point, and she said to me, "Oh God, my shoulder's sore." And she said, "But it's come out of nowhere almost." And I said,
Right.
"Oh, what do you know about that?" And she said to me, "Gosh, it totally reminds me of my aunt. I can't remember her name, so we'll call her Aunt Betty."
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, really? Does it just?" And it turned out that her Aunt Betty was just standing really, really close.
Oh.
And so her Aunt Betty, to get her attention, basically gave her the same ache that she obviously complained about a lot
Right.
to trigger the niece's memory of her, so then she could have that conversation.
Okay. That's interesting because my mother passed away just a year ago, and I've been kind of disappointed that she hasn't come to me much in dreams. And I thought that I would have felt her presence more, although sometimes I do feel, that she's around me. But both my sister and I started to have some physical feelings that our mother used to complain about, and we laughed about it, saying, "Oh, we're turning into mum," but without really putting two and two together.
She's just standing really close to you so that you know that she's there.
Yeah, bless her.
So if anybody else has had that lovely problem, because it is a lovely problem to have in some ways, but our bodies do vibrate, and our body will respond to those vibrations. And if we don't sort of nip it in the bud, we will start creating that as reality for us. So what we can do is say to our loved one, "Thank you so much. I'm so happy that you're here. Can you just step away a little bit now so that my body is mine and not yours?" So thank you. I'm grateful for you coming in. And also, you can also open up that pathway for her to say, "Thank you, Mum, for coming in while I'm awake. Feel free to come through when I'm doing my intuitive writing or my dream state or anything like that. You don't have to inflict your bodily issues onto me to let me know you're here." Because she knows. She knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
Oh, I just love how these conversations happen. Okay. So our next question that I have for you is something that's a little bit of a really open-ended question, and it can go all sorts of ways, but I'd love to know at this point, what does consciousness mean to you?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And I think for me, consciousness means that I'm aware that I am an individual, but that I'm very much connected to something greater than me, including nature and other people. And yeah, I stand alone in this body, but that I'm very connected to everything, nature, other people, the universe, and that consciousness is available to tap into.
I love that answer.
And I'm sure that answer is different for everybody. And I'd be very interested in knowing how do you describe consciousness?
Consciousness to me is very similar to what you said. There's an awareness of the collective, as in not just people alive, but in spirit form as well. There's an awareness of all of the other elements that make up that collective, whether they be, from the elementals of the, the fairies and the nymphs and all of that sort of stuff too. Right through to, dragons and, the bigger elementals, as well as our, fairy friends, our scaly friends, our bugs, there's just a beautiful awareness of like when you can, consciousness to me is being able to look at a tree and watch it talk. To be able to hear the water in the ground and listen to that, being just almost hypersensitive, but from a space of being in total allowance of it all as well. And consciousness to me is being in total allowance as well, so that there is no judgment, there is no right and wrong, good or bad. It's just, it is what it is, and how it all fits in together as a big huge puzzle. So it is a very, for me personally, to answer this question, it becomes quite a lengthy answer, because it's like there's just so many elements to it. It is the awareness for me of also not just our universe, like our solar system, the galaxies, the universes. It's also beyond that, of into our other lifetimes. And I say other because, when you get dealing with the quantum dynamics and the metaphysical world, you're also not on the awareness that time is not linear. Everything is all happening right now. So that's why I say other lifetimes. And how all of that is also functioning in and around now too. So it's just a really large awareness of just how big, yet how significant, insignificant nothingness we are. I think that's the easiest way I can say that.
It's a big question.
It is. It's huge. I could do a whole show just on what is consciousness. But that's why I love that question, because everybody answers slightly differently, because it does. It means something different to everybody. And there'll be similarities. There'll be veins of similar across everybody. But yeah, I love it. I love it, love it, love it. So in your beautiful practice of being the face yoga coach, what is the most tastiest moment in your life or professional life so far?
Oh, well, I come across many women, and like I do treatments, I run workshops, I do stuff online. So I interact with people differently. And I had just qualified as a face yoga coach back in 2017, and I ran my very first program. I was living in Saudi Arabia, and we were a community made up of probably 56 different nationalities. So I ran this class, and I had 2 Russian women in my class. And the first night, it was a 3-week program, 2 times in the week. And I ran the first night with 18 women. I really didn't have a clue what I was doing. I just ran by the seat of my pants. And anyway, different people, like different cultures, use their faces differently. And in the case of these 2 Russian women, they were like this. They didn't smile. They didn't express. It was nothing. So at the end of the night, I was quite upset, because the rest of the girls, they really enjoyed it and said, oh, they were animated. And when I left and I went home, I was thinking, I'll never see those 2 ladies again. Well, as it turned out, the next class, they did show up. And in fact, this woman who had been so devoid of showing emotion, she grabbed me and hugged me, and she said, I went home and I cried. And she
Oh.
said, I don't know what happened, but when I was moving my face during the exercises, it released something inside of me, and I felt so happy. And, I just thought that was quite a big deal, especially as a new instructor, really not knowing what I was doing. But it was more to do with the power of how something so simple can be quite transformative.
Wow. Oh my goodness, you just got me in the feels. It's like, oh, just to even perceive the relief
Yeah.
of that beautiful lady. She would have just, oh gosh. Yes.
Yeah, because a lot of these women, they came to Saudi Arabia with their husbands, and their husbands were working and they were left at home. For me, it was different. I was there as a single woman, I was working. So the world of married couples and single women working was very separate. But as I found out, these women were like, she was a medical doctor, highly intelligent, and totally devoid of doing anything in her life at that time that brought her joy. She was left at home with very few friends or support network, because there weren't many Russians or people that she could openly speak to in her own language to fully express her frustration at not being able to work. So, yeah, you just never know how what you do is going to land with someone. And I always come from a heart center with no judgment, and just giving as much as I can to participants or clients. And it's the same when you're treating someone. When I treat someone, and you would have come across this, I'm sure, something similar. Sometimes there are people that aren't touched a lot. They might be single, or they might not be people that like being touched, or have that opportunity very often. So just the power of touch is so immensely healing, and unlocks something within us. Massage and touch should never be underestimated. When someone comes to me for a facial, it is much, much more than coming to beautify your skin. It's about the whole body. It's getting down to a cellular level, moving the energy around and helping the individual to let go of anything that really doesn't serve them.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You just totally reminded me of, I was at an expo as a exhibitor, and it was pretty quiet. It was the start of the first day, and it's always a bit quiet when you do these things. And I was just, you know, offering, like, just from random people going past or whatever. And there was one of the ladies who was in a booth across from me, and I just said to her, would you like to come to a little tasty session? And she's just like, oh, okay. So she popped over, and she was a coach of sorts, like a lifestyle coach, and she loved it. And then she sent her friend over, and her friend paid for a half-hour session. And she said to me, now, I'm just warning you that nobody can handle my energy. Nobody. I have literally had massage therapists walk out in the middle of a session because my energy is too much for them.
Wow.
And I said to her, oh, that's nice. Let's see how we go. And so I had already employed my lovely expanding out tool that I taught you the other week. And so I was fine. I didn't care what she thought. I was just like, I was in the super expanded out space, which meant that my awareness and allowance was greater than hers anyway, because I had allowed myself to go greater than the combined collective consciousness of everybody and everything at this expo. So, which included her, of course. And so I was there and I did this session with her. And she was twitching all over the place in the chair, and she was out to it though. You would think she was dead to the world. And I was just I think I was just running bars or something. But it was just, she was gone. And I finished up and I said to her really quietly, okay, you can take a big deep breath now and open your eyes. And she's like, whoa, I don't think I've ever experienced anything like that before. She became my biggest piece of marketing for the rest of the weekend.
Amazing.
But yeah, I don't think she would get touched very often by somebody just from that super expanded out non-judgmental space. Because it's only when your therapist is in judgment that they will resist and react to the energies that you as the client is releasing. And especially if it's something that you both have in common and that you're resisting and reacting, releasing yourself as a therapist, which often happens.
Yes, so true.
So that's why it's really so important to have our self-care on, like, really up there as therapists as well.
Yeah, I'm learning that. I really am. I was working out of home, and I recently moved into a public space, into a wellness hub. So I'm seeing a lot more clients, and I'm starting to realize the importance of carving out time for me, having facials, having massages, and healing as well, having healing treatments. So that's something I definitely will be incorporating, because if we're not in a good place, how can we be good for our clients? I don't think we can show up at our best if we don't.
And that's the same for whatever job you're doing, not just as a healer, therapist. It's, if you're a CEO of a company and if you are all clogged up with your considerations and your points of views and your judgments, well, where does all of that flow? It flows down to your management team. It flows from the management team to, the general worker team, to the cleaners, to the, the pieces of the desks and everything. And next thing you know, the whole work environment is full of crap.
Unhealthy work environment. And how common is that? It's very common.
Huge. So it's like, if the best places that I've ever worked for, and I've worked for many, many, is the ones where the owners and the bosses place great importance on things like training, on communication, and health and wellness.
Yeah. Well, it's got to be number one. Health and wellness. If we don't have health and wellness, we'll struggle with everything else.
Yeah.
Actually, 100%. Maybe I need to change my language around that. But for me, my number one value is health and wellness.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine's healing and energetics. So it's up there too. Same. Different words, but same.
Yeah.
All right. So, what top tip would you give to somebody just beginning their spiritual journey or their self-healing, their wellness journey?
My top tip would be to always trust your intuition. When we trust our intuition and we are heart-led, I think we make good decisions. When we try to dismiss our hunches or intuition, whatever you want to call it, then we can take ourselves down a track that maybe we don't want to be down. So that would be my top tip. And I say that only because in the past, I haven't always trusted my intuition, and it has led me to places I really did not want to be in. So hence, trust and be heart-led.
Yeah, have the courage to trust your intuition. Definitely. Because sometimes that intuition says something different to what you would think it should say. And especially if it's a different message to what your family or friends would say. And especially if that intuition starts making your family and friends judge you, it's like, maybe I shouldn't. And you start second guessing stuff. So that's why I'm saying have the courage to trust your intuition.
Yeah, and it is courageous. It is.
Absolutely. All right. So for our last tasty question, and before we get to that one, just before, you said that you are functioning out of a wellness hub here in Adelaide now. Can you please tell us where that is and how to get in touch with you?
Well, I am working from a place called Pillar of Light Wellness Hub. For anyone watching in Adelaide, it's at number 3, 84 Grange Road at Welland. And it's the most amazing place. There are a lot of different practitioners there. And there's a beautiful space where they sell crystals and books, and you've got to come and have a look. You will love it. But if you want to make an appointment with me, you can. You can call me, and maybe you can share my phone number. People can call me, make an appointment if they would like to, or just come along and say, hi, come and have a look. It's really a beautiful space.
Yeah, and we've also got your website is up there in the show notes of the faceyogacoach.com. You can also head over to thepillaroflight.com.au for the Pillar of Light Wellness Hub. And of course, oh my goodness, would you mind telling us about your next workshop, please?
Yes, I have a workshop coming up on July 15th. That's a Saturday at 2 p.m. till 4 p.m. And it's called the Ageless Beauty Secrets Workshop, where I share all my beauty secrets with you. And I would like to offer your listeners, the normal price for the workshop is $125. I would like to offer it to you for $100. And if you would like to attend, again, please reach out to me, say that you were on this listening in, and I would love to meet you and have you as a participant.
Oh, you're so generous. How did my listeners and viewers get so lucky? Oh my goodness.
Can I just say one more thing? On June the 17th and 18th, it's a Saturday and Sunday, Pillar of Light at Grange Road, Welland, have an open wellness weekend, and they're offering taster sessions for $25, but you've got to book in, and all of the practitioners are going to be there. There's morning and afternoon sessions on both days. You can come and try up to 3 different modalities, and it's just $25.
Wow. That is
Yeah.
super cool. Thank you so much for sharing that. So obviously you'll be able to head over to their website to find that.
Yes.
Okay, hang on just a moment and I'll pop that up in the comments there so people can, there we go. Cool. So it's up there in the comments so that people can find that a little bit easier if they feel like doing it that way instead of looking in the show notes. So thank you.
Sure.
Oh, that's so cool. And so yes, that was on the 17th and 18th of June.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in trying out some new things that maybe you haven't tried before and seeing what floats your boat, lights you up, so to speak, yeah, definitely head on over to Pillar of Light. That would be so cool. So thank you. And our last tasty question of the evening. If you could sit next to any person on a park bench for the afternoon and the weather was perfect and there was no bitey things biting you and there was just the lightest gentle breeze and a little bit of warmth but not too much, and you're not worrying about getting sunburned because you've got just the right amount of shade, everything is totally perfect, and this person can be alive or in spirit form, who would that be and why?
Well, I'm not someone that like I don't follow influencers or TV stars or anything like that. But there is one gentleman, and he's a more mature gentleman, David Attenborough. I just think he is an amazing man. He's done so much to showcase nature and our planet. And I'm a scuba diver, and he has been on some incredible expeditions under the oceans. And I would just love to talk to him about his experiences and find out more about his view of the world, because he has really left an imprint. Even though he's still with us, his work has made a big imprint, I think, on the wider, broader population, of informing them about our planet and how we need to take care of it.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I've got goosebumps on my goosebumps. Yes. I don't think anybody's seen David Attenborough before. So,
and you know, he's in his 90s and he's still making programs still, and they're just as amazing.
I know, and his voice. I mean, gosh. It's not quite a Vin Diesel, but you know what? He's pretty up there. Oh, wow. David Attenborough, yes. And to just dive in and pick his brain a little bit on, you know, how did you get to where you are, and not even just sort of like these questions like what we've been asking tonight of how did you get started, what really sparkled your interest in nature to start off with, and all those sorts of questions. And I'm sure you'd have a bajillion more, but
I'd love to know if he's spiritually attuned, because I can't imagine that he wouldn't be, having seen everything that he's seen, and you know, his understanding of the universe. I mean, it's you know, we're very lucky to be alive and to be on this earth.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my goodness. Thank you. That was an amazing answer. What a way to wind up this season of Tasty Tuesdays. Oh my goodness, my beautiful friends. Can you believe it? We are now at the end of 1 year of Tasty Tuesdays, and it has been my absolute honor to have the beautiful Joyce Piper with us to join us for that. And I think we ended up with something like 50 or 51 episodes. So it was pretty close to every episode every week. And I'm so grateful to absolutely all of my previous guests and the people who have come back to do further chats and all that sort of stuff. It's just been so much fun. And I'm looking forward to seeing where this next 12 months leads us. So next week, as first episode of season number 2, we will be having Vicky Morales is going to come back from Vicky Soul Space, and she's going to be leading us through her witchy woo practices. So we're on a theme for the next month or so of witchy woo practices and what people do with that. And I'm super excited to see how many of you are actually in the witchy broom closet and without realizing it. So in the meantime, of course, I'll be back on Friday for Find You Fridays, the intuitive reading and healing show, where we get to have a bit of a chat, do some readings. And of course, if you wish to do extended readings, you pop a little donation in, and that donation goes into the kitty for the month. And at the end of each month, we do a donation towards a worthy cause or person or somebody who requires that. So this last month was the Hutt Street Centre, which helps people with homelessness, and that might give them warm showers, hot food in their bellies, and helps them out, maybe even helps them towards getting jobs and things like that. So they do a lot of work for the homeless people, and I'm very, very honoured to be able to have gifted forward what the beautiful listeners have gifted to us. So thank you for that. Isn't
Thank you
it
so
beautiful?
much. It is. That's really lovely.
I agree. It's like I have a very valuable platform here, and I'm not going to take it for granted ever. Alrighty, my friends, and thank you again, Joyce, for coming to share your journey with us. I'm so grateful.
You're welcome. And it was great. I love chatting to you. Don't forget the tongue.
And the tongue.
Yeah.
And this one.
Yes.
All right, everybody. Oh, dear. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming to play. Thank you for watching. Get out there, do something tasty for yourself, look after yourself and your health and your wellness. I don't really mind what it is. Just do something tasty for you. Be bold, be brave, be you, my beautiful friends. Until next time, bye-bye.
Bye.